finance a $3,945,000 project, this would be your payments for the next 20 years. So even though it's an energy savings project, we actually issue debt, and you do have to make a bond payment for the next 20 years. So the bond payment column shows that over the 20-year period, to finance the $3,945,000, when you factor in interest, you've got total payback of $5,791,375. That's over the 20-year period of the bond. Now, that's what you make in bond payments. The second column is called support services. This is what Trane would receive on an annual basis to come in, monitor your facilities, and that's kind of what they get paid to come in every year to provide the guarantee. They have to come in, monitor all your systems, and prove to you that your utility bills are less now than they were before, but that is a cost that's incurred. So the total cost is simple math. We add your total bond payment in the second column plus the support services. So here's the total cost of the project. And again, over the 20-year period, you'd be paying $5,982,064. So that's, a real costs that are expended every year. Now, starting in the next column is where the money comes from to pay for the project. The energy savings column, this is the column that Trane guarantees. So when they do their project, you enter into a contract with Trane. The energy savings column is what they guarantee that if they don't save this much every year, they write you a check back for the difference. So that's where the guarantee comes in. Then the next column, it's operational savings. This is not a guarantee, but this is savings that in dealing with the administration, when they've gone through and looked at all of your facilities, they've determined if we do this project now, you were paying $21,600 on parts, supplies, upkeep that you won't be paying anymore. So even though it's not a guaranteed savings, it's a realized savings that you'll have. So under total savings, again, it's simple math. We add your energy savings plus the operational savings. So here's what's expected to be saved out of the project. Now, you'll notice the total savings column is less than the total cost column. So again, just look at the first line. In the first year, we've got a total cost of $215,218 and a total savings that's going to go towards the bond payment of $116,600. So the difference is made up with your building fund. So the cost avoidance is part of the bond issue that we would be issuing is paid from savings. Part of the bond issue is paid from your building fund. And you can see we would be making building fund payments also to pay for part of the project. So when you add your total savings plus the capital cost avoidance, which is your building fund, our total revenue to make the payment equals exactly the total cost. So in simple terms, part of the project's being paid for with the savings and part of it's being paid for with the building fund, and we're issuing bonds to fund the project. So this is this is the standard way that you normally do a project. And so, to keep in mind is the reason that you do one of these energy projects is really not to save money, but the fact that you are saving money so that you can pay for the debt service that allows you to do your improvements now. It's a way to get these improvements and use the savings that you have to make your bond payment. But when it all settles out, you kind of net out. The savings are going to go to make the bond payment. Now, how does that really work? So from Cindy's standpoint, assuming we did this scenario, from a budget standpoint, under the total savings project, she's actually going to have to be budgeting an additional payment in your general fund to make that payment. But on the other side of it, she's going to reduce the expenses at the different schools on your utility bills. And that's how it balances out. So it's kind of a net zero effect. So under normal circumstances, this is what you would be presented tonight to approve to move forward. Now, any questions on this page? All right. So flip to the next page. And so based on this funding scenario, this is what your BG1 form would look like. And if you look mainly on the right-hand side, we would be funding this with a grand total bond issue of the $3,945,000 that we talked about. Of that amount, the building fund would be paying for $1,750,000 of the bonds, and then the guaranteed savings that comes out of your general fund would be $2,195,000. So I wanted to kind of go through this scenario with you. Now, flip to the next page. And from my standpoint, I would say, in my opinion, this is the preferred scenario. And the difference in this scenario and the first page, again, let's look kind of at the bottom of the box. We still need our $3,825,000 to complete the project. But now, the bond issuance cost, since we're going to be issuing less bonds, would only be $50,000 instead of $120,000. So you're immediately saving in issuance cost. And then also, you'll see the next line, we are going to be putting in that $2.7 million of cash that comes from our building fund. So instead of financing the entire $3,950,000, we're now only have to borrow $1,175,000. So we're replacing a good portion of the bonds with the cash we have available, so that we only have to finance $1,175,000. Now let's go back up to our meat of our spreadsheet and start looking how that affects it. So if you look at the second column that says bond payment total P&I, principal and interest, you can see our payments are substantially less now because we're borrowing substantially less. So the first few years our payments are about $60,000 and they go up from there. Now, under support services, that remains the same. You're still going to pay Train to come in, review everything on an annual basis, and so that cost is constant. So again, our total cost is what our bond payments are plus our support services for the total cost. The next two columns, the next three columns did not change from the previous scenario. We still have the same guaranteed energy savings. We still have the same operational savings. So our total savings is the same as before. But here's the good news. So let's look at the first line of your total savings column. So the first year, we're going to save $116,600. Then you go back to your total cost column. Our total cost is only $81,991. So over in the far right-hand column, where I call excess revenue, we actually are saving money that goes into our general fund. So by putting up the cash, we're able to lower the amount we borrow. So we're saving on substantial interest costs over the 20-year life of the bond. Plus, we're saving on cost of issuance because we're issuing less bonds. So instead of it being a complete break-even deal, we're actually generating real savings into your general fund every year. And you can see down at the bottom the tune of about $1.5 million. So instead of it being a complete break-even, by doing the cash up front, which we have the luxury of having that now in our building fund, we can turn this into a kind of a break-even deal into really a interest cost savings. Now, flip to the last page, and I know there's different columns and different amounts. I did this last page to show you what's the real savings. So I did a complete, apple-to-apple comparison of scenario A to scenario B. So if we finance the entire amount, we would be issuing $3,945,000 in bonds. You'd be paying back $1,846,000 in interest over the 20-year life of the bonds, and we would be paying the support service to Train over the 20 years. So your total all-in cost over 20 years would be $5,982,064. Then under scenario B, where we put the cash in, our bond amount is substantially less, $1,175,000. And you can see, look at the drastic difference. Instead of paying $1.8 million in interest over the 20 years, we're only paying $536 in interest. We still pay the support service, and we do have to account that we are putting that $2.7 million cash up front. So over the 20 years, we're paying $4,602,502. So your real apples to apples difference is about $1,379,000. So that's, real savings that kind of ends up in your general fund instead of going to pay the debt service. So, from my standpoint, I think this is the preferred method, and the only reason, in my opinion, that the board might not consider this is if you had a better use of that $2.7 million to go somewhere else than to go into this project. But I guess from my standpoint, talking with your superintendent, your finance director, this seems to be a really good use of those dollars at this time to, write down the amount of bonds we have to issue so that, hey, instead of a break even, hey, we're really going to be helping out our general fund budget by doing this.
That being the case, that would definitely be the advantage of us, unless there's something in the recent facility plan that's put under section 2 that maybe is considered urgent with regards to not only urgent as the building's going to fall down, that based upon input and how we look at that facility plan, that may be of more importance that this 2.7 million maybe 3 or 4 or designated for. And I'm only bringing that up because it's a new facility plan. There are several items under there that are not what you would call wish list items. They're unmet needs.
And we talked about that, so, our thinking. Oh.
Sorry. We got people watching us.
We talked about that, and here's our thinking on that. We're in September right now, and we will continue to work with this project with Terrain and get things in place back in December, or going forward to December and into January. And yes, in item 2, I know we're looking at big renovation, probably at Midgate, East Heights, and South Heights. When we start to put those BG ones together, even if it's in the spring, the selling the bond, even when, because Joe talked about that with us today, we will be in the next fiscal year, and we'll have $3.1 million cash ready July 1, probably when we're really ready for those BG ones. So that was our thinking, but it's definitely something for the board to take into mind, because once we spend the cash, it is gone.
Mike, is there any urgent items, because you were part of that facilities plan, that jump out at you that you think may become urgent before next spring? I'm asking you, yeah.
I haven't gone through the facility plan. I mean, there's always needs, and there's always, you never know what may happen. I would tend to bow to the better judgment of the administration and really behind most folks. If there's something looming out there that's listed on the facility plan. But right now, I don't think we really identified anything that's of significance. And again, as Mark Hannah said, even if it did pop itself up, I mean, we would all be into the next year funding cycle.
Not in the
Pretty
next
quick.
6 months. Plus, we still are sitting right now at $51 million in bonding capacity.
So that's some big
So,
stuff.
right, so.
I just brought the idea up.
No,
But we talked about it, you're right.
Yeah, if I could maybe elaborate too, is that the thing to think about going forward, we're sitting on a little over $51 million of bonding potential. And until we do our next major project that would use a lot of that, every year going forward, you're gonna have an additional $3.1 million cash that's available. So once we get to July 1st, we've got $3.1 million that could be cash projects. Then we get to the following July 1st, an additional 3.1. So until we really take on that next major project, you guys are gonna really be in a good position that you can do some substantial cash projects, going forward for the next couple of years.
Does this also save our bonding capacity? If we don't use it all for this, does it save our bonding capacity when we do get ready to work on Jefferson and the
Yeah,
other projects?
until we sell bonds, we will not be using, right now, if we went with the regular route, we would be issuing 1,750,000 building fund bonds, which would come off of that $51 million, which would reduce our bonding potential. So by doing this, we are saving that bonding potential for future projects and still having the cash that generates every year. And again, keep in mind, if we use this cash this year, or if we use the 3.1 million next year on another project, that does not affect our bonding potential, because your bond potential doesn't go down until you actually issue bonds, and then the next year your payments start. So until we do another bond issue, that $3.1 million will be available going forward, and it will not affect your bonding potential.
So as I understand it, Mark, and Billy, I'm Steve, there's nothing out there that we think we like.
Number two, I agree with you there.
No, there's plenty out there, but nothing right now that would be a priority or something that.
6 months.
The issues of concern are the ones that we have really on the bigger synergy, efficiency issues. The HVAC is one of the things that bothers us the most. And this handles a lot of the most needed situations. That's,
And the additional money, that the difference between the 360,000, what was it, Ernie, to begin with, we asked them to take off the arrays at the 3 schools, but add Ben Gates children. So will that take another emergency off of our list by getting that children done?
Takes the potential out of the equation.
I had a question that could fail, and we would have, because it will be part of this plan to be fixed within a year. Then, correct?
Yeah, that's right. If you remember in our proposal, that we have 2 project scenarios that addresses much of it addresses HVAC at the high school and the lighting in the high school, as well as exterior lighting in various places. From your work session last week, we got direction that you all wanted to include Ben Gate elementary chiller. That it's an older chiller that probably needs to be replaced in the very near future. So we added that to our base project. So what I did from the base project which was around 3.6 million, added 140,000. That's a budget number, which we think might be what the cost of that chiller would be to replace the Ben Gate. So I added 140,000 to the base project, which is now, that project amount is, I believe, 3.8 million.
So it's already in this.
Yes, it's in there. So the project scenario includes the base project from our proposal plus the chiller at Ben Gate.
I just noticed today when I was going through this, that the cost that we were talking, total construction cost, and what he presented to us the other day was 2 different numbers. I was pretty sure it was the difference in the chiller, but he had to go back and back out one number out of it and add the other one back in, so, yeah.
That's correct. This is pretty much a third scenario that we didn't, the direction.
Right.
Right, I took those out and just had the chiller in the project.
Wes, do you have any thoughts? No? What are you leaning toward, project, scenario 1 or 2?
emergence that 2.7 to go to would make the most sense to go scenario B.
Okay. Dr. Seth, what do you think?
I agree. We have several folks here that have been working diligently on it, and we really trust their opinions. So I think option D is the best one.
I think it's the option of, do you buy a car with cash, or do you borrow the money and pay the interest, not unless you have to, so. Okay, so Mr. Joe, where do we move on next to this? Looks like that's what we're leaning towards.
Yes, so now the actual action item will be to approve the BG1 form for the Guaranteed Energy Project, and that's going to be the scenario B BG1 that shows the cash.
We included all the options in your report package.
Okay. So that's also the next to last page in my presentation, the actual BG1 that you're approving. For a total of $3,875,000. Of that amount, $2.7 million would be building fund cash, and $1,175,000 would be guaranteed energy savings contract bonds.
Based on scenario B, do I hear a motion to approve the BG1 as described by Mr. Jones? Thank you, Ms. Tracy. Do I hear a second? Everybody's happy. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, BG one, cool. So anything else we need? And moving on to the capital funds request?
And then you need to also approve the capital fund request, which is the final piece that allows us to use the $2.7 million on this project. So we have a capital funds request in the amount of $2.7 million, which allows us to use our building fund cash on this energy savings project. And that'll be submitted simultaneously with the BG.
I'll make that motion to approve the capital fund request.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. BG one, the capital funds request done. Okay, can we move on to Spotsville? We're getting pretty close to our 6 o'clock.
Brief recess.
Do a brief recess. Okay, we need 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Hopefully, 30 seconds.
Okay, well, we'll do
It's all standard.
3 minutes. How's that?
He's all standard. See you, Wes.
Because I usually do all that. What minutes, all that. So, put out.
You gotta do something after
You gotta
this.
get it done.
No, we're getting started on the work, but in terms of the paperwork, the KD is a little different. Who's your, person over there, KDD? Okay, he's good, I like him.
Thank you, Joe.
You left, and let's get ice cream. Yes, it's, the guy that's, church manager's on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.
I wonder if this thing, I mean, it's just,
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's just hard to get an answer. Okay. Hey, did you all, is there that of your facility plan?
They've already approved it here.
Does it include HVAC at high school and lighting at high school?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we have to make sure the project amount goes up to 2.7, which it will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is, it's on there, and I think the HVAC is on bid as well.
Okay.
And
We'll have more than 2.7 of content that's being eligible for the facility plan
and he,
for capital money.
he did say he spent a lot of time, I think, talking to parties about
Can you do me a favor and just email me the draft? Okay, well, tomorrow. There we go. I just called. He's turning around real quick. Yeah. He's in market on it. I guess he's an intern. He's, he deals with He has MBA or is he?
I just think,
No, I see him around the office.
it looked like a really pretty background, and then when I looked at it, I thought, no, that's there, it is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, I'm gonna pass the mic over here and y'all can resume your meeting.
I think we'll come out of recess and go back to our regular meeting. Good evening, John Hagan.
I appreciate y'all, I apologize. First of all.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to apologize for not being there in person. Had a PBIC meeting up here this afternoon, just couldn't make that drive in time.
I understand. So do you have an update for us after last Monday?
I do, as far as the masonry work or PPMI?
Oh, pick one.
I don't have much of an update on the PPMI front. I know Ms. Bird had been emailing back and forth with Frank and Lumpy. That's the last correspondence I have had with him, was that day, February the last week, I guess it was. But as far as the masonry work, I've been talking to Danco, and I know you guys reviewed the letter or the response they had sent yesterday. Since that time, I spoke to Jeff Williams today, and they have actually increased their manpower projections. So it's a little bit better of a situation than what I sent you yesterday. Starting tomorrow, we should basically double the force that's on site, up to 11 to 12 laborers. And then beginning Monday, we're supposed to have an additional 6 masons. So that gets their manpower where it needs to be, close to where it needs to be.
How many masons does that put us to total?
That'll get us right up about 14.
Are there additional labor?
Really, they have joined forces with Arnold Masonry, which I'm not familiar with, but they're getting 6 masons from that bunch.
John, hey, this is Margana. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
After speaking at the trailer a week ago, actually a couple of weeks ago now, so we're going into the second week, and Dan Jones was there from Danco. Has he had any direct correspondence with you, or have you worked just with Jeff?
Probably twice on the phone and via email as well.
Okay, and if they provide the service starting today, tomorrow, moving forward with the increased number of workers, how will that impact our timeline?
The south side of the building, which is everything behind the 2-story classroom wing, the gym, the cafeteria, kitchen, and that small section of rooms, should have had the roof complete in dry this week. Should have been yesterday by the schedule. If everything falls in place the way that Danco was projecting, plus the other contractors that I've spoken to, we put a schedule together. I think we can have the roof on that south side by Halloween. That would essentially put us by Halloween, at the end of October. So that would be roughly a month behind schedule on that south side of the building.
Still where we are right now.
Does that make any time up,
So
or is that just keeping us on schedule as we are right now?
That gains a month on the south side of the building. We've shuffled a little bit of work around. The Danco also is responsible for the technical. The roofer is scheduled to be on site. Kind of starts earlier than we would to try to gain some time. So I think we're going to be able to shave about a month off of the south side of the building.
When we were there that day at the trailer, we asked Charlie if his crew would consider working Saturdays. Has Danco entertained that idea anymore?
Yes, they have committed to working Saturdays.
So give
I
it.
don't know if that would
Okay.
be the fees.
Say it again, we couldn't hear you.
I'm not sure if that will be the entire masonry crew working Saturdays or.
At what point, John Hagan, do we acknowledge that their plan that they've given you starting today will work? And at what point do we give them that third letter of, we need separation? How will you judge that or give us confidence here sitting around the board table that we're going to be okay?
If they, that is in my mind, an acceptable workforce. That's not making it slippage.
Wait, I have to interrupt. You have to start over with your response because you kind of froze.
If they do provide the manpower that they need, if they get the total of 14 masons and the 10 or so laborers, that is a proper prevents us from losing more time. So the commitment I need to see from them is accelerating their schedule in attempts to make up this time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, we're 45 days scheduled together that they need to commit to, and if they do not, forward.
Okay, so if they do not, you talked about the 45-day timeline, if they not commit to it, I'm sorry, you'll have to repeat that again.
If they take those dates, I think we do need to move forward, declaring them into.
Can I stop a second? Brian, can we get him just on the speakerphone, on the cell phone call? Because this Skype thing is not working. If we could just do. Okay, John, we're going to take a short recess a second, see if we can't get you better connected.
I don't have to see you, but you can hear it. Well, it is typically this time of year, it's the dry part of your year.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Okay, John, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I think that'll work.
Okay, we're all just going to have to use a microphone so we can hear you. Okay, so go back and repeat what you were just telling Morgana about the 45 days.
What I'm gonna do is put together about a 45, maybe even 60-day schedule, not just for Danco's work, but for the structural steel, the roofing, all that, everything that is related to getting us in the dry. And if Danco obviously is gonna have to make those dates in order to stay on this project. If they cannot, I think it will be time to move forward, take those steps to either remove them from the project or declare them in default. I do feel comfortable with them if they provide this manpower like they say they're going to, and that remains to be seen. But if they do, I do feel comfortable in these dates that we should have that south side of the building in the dry around the end of October, which in all likelihood, I can redo this schedule and get that work in that backside of the building going earlier than it's currently shown. I feel comfortable making that additional month back up. The north side, the two-story classroom wing is a totally different situation. There's a lot of coordination, we have to get the load-bearing walls up to the second floor elevation, joist the deck, and then pour the concrete before the mason can then lay the second floor. So that's more of a concern area for me.
John Hagan, I'm gonna poll some of my board members here and see what they think, where we stand with your explanation for right now. Mike?
Well, these increases in workforce, anywhere from 40 to 75%, so we ought to be able to make up time. If you're gonna have the guy working on Saturdays, and as we talk about extended days, and all we can do is look after the next 30 days and see where he's at. And at that point in time, look for you to make a decision. All right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. West?
I guess my question is, what's the date that it's too late?
Good question.
Well, I mean, there really isn't a date too late.
Or to get somebody that's in there in time to not push back the timeline any further.
Timeline further, yeah. In the past several weeks, Craig and myself have both been contacting other masonry contractors, in the event that we did have to replace them already, and have not had much luck, or any luck really, finding another contractor willing to take on the job, either due to distance or just their own manpower. So,
They have a surety bond, don't they?
yes, so they've got a 100% performance payment bond.
Then it's all them.
It's on them to get it done, but if we,
So you gotta get it done.
Well, I mean, if you can't find anybody else,
Right.
you just gotta keep pushing, keep shoving, keep cracking, okay? And we're already behind, we wanna see how we're gonna make up. You got 30 days, he's giving to make it up. And then John Hayden, Rodell, and Margana, along with your team, have got to make a determination to let us know. I mean, I'm not gonna track the timeline on a day-to-day basis, I don't think anybody else in here will. But we obviously, Billy, Donnie, and you guys are gonna be looking at that, tracking that, and see what this guy's gonna be doing. And, we just can't say, okay, we're firing you as a mason, and don't have anybody. That's right. So, then we've got to put the money on the surety bond and get our money back.
That's right.
That's the only way you run the project.
okay, Dr. Seth?
The schedule they have given me, they threw out these dates to me, and I think we can improve on this, but they're showing having the load-bearing masonry completed November the 8th. If they make that date, there's no reason that the entire schedule cannot be made back up. If they make November the 8th, I have no concern about getting back on schedule, the overall schedule. And just so you know, kind of for a building of this size, from the point that the entire building is dried in, it's typically roughly about 6 months to substantial completion from that point.
Ms. Tracy, did you have a comment?
No, I'm kind of like Mr. Waller, you don't have anybody to step in and take their place. So if we don't give them this 30 days and just follow up and make sure that they're doing what they say, then, and keep pushing, and daily if they have to, but.
That's the key part, is staying on top of it, documenting it, making sure there's a plan in place for not just the south side, but also the north side, and that they are providing and keeping detailed reports of the progress, showing that it's not going further behind, because if we don't have it carefully documented, bond council's gonna kick back and say, construction manager didn't do his part in keeping the project coordinated.
Sure, we've got daily, of course, Mike does a daily report, each day, and we also have been keeping a manpower log, for months now. When this first kind of reared its head, and we thought we may have an issue, we've been keeping a manpower log every single day that they're on the job site, so we have an accurate record of the workforce they have on site.
Dr. Seth, thank you for the opportunity to talk.
Well, I think everybody has said what I'm thinking as well. But I do have a bigger question, and that goes to what you just mentioned. When it kind of reared its ugly head, when you first realized we may have an issue, what date was that?
I want to say I wrote their first letter, the end of June, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And I want to say it was about 6 weeks prior to that is when I really started harping on the manpower to Danco and to Charlie Wilson Masonry. We had a couple meetings with them, and it, we would sit down, have all the players at the table, and then they would get some additional guys for 4 or 5 days, and then it would slip back off. So that's when I went ahead and put them on formal notice. June the 28th is the day I wrote that first letter.
So what you're saying is about 6 weeks before that, you started to be a little concerned. Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Can you kind of give us a guarantee that we don't have this problem with any of our other subcontractors? I feel like, this has kind of gone on quite a bit, and I don't know that we've been made aware of it in a timely fashion. That's the thing that I think bothers me the most about it. So I just need to hear from you that you're keeping on track of all subcontractors and not just the masonry work.
Yes, so all the other trades thus far have supplied plenty of manpower, and we not had any scheduling or coordination issues other than this one.
I'm gonna tag along with Dr. Sugg, and I know you all aren't used to me doing that, thank you. But I did send an email to you today, John Hagan, saying, somebody explain to me, is there a legal reason why we had to wait from June until the end of September to send that second letter?
No, ma'am. There's no legal reason. I don't guess I got that email.
Okay. That was just my question after seeing the letters that you sent today was, I almost have to question why we waited from the end of June when we already knew there was a problem. You said you were worried about it beforehand. Why we're waiting until September now to send that second letter, and then if we have to do that third letter, we're still talking in October. And I get that this is probably not going to change the outcome because we still don't have anybody else to do it, but I'm just a little upset or annoyed that it's
Like
going
I
that
said,
far.
June the 28th, that first letter, and then that did seem to help. They got additional 4 men for the next 2 weeks. And then I want to say it was July the 20th or 21st when we had the electrician walk off the job. So that really threw a wrench in the things. The mason was able to, he worked 3 additional days without an electrician before he came to a stop. When there was no electrical run-in being performed as he laid his block, he eventually ran out of work.
Okay. Well, not having any other recourse at this point, because we can't find somebody else to do it, but I myself personally would like somebody to stay on top of this, and we need to have an answer in the next 30 days. They're either done, or we're asking for some money back in form of a performance bond, because I'm not happy with this situation.
In addition to their performance bond, they're also on the hook for liquidated damages for any delays. For instance, if the job's completed we're currently 2 months behind roughly. If the job's completed 2 months late, there's $1,000 a day liquidated damages penalty that would be applied.
I might want to work on Sunday.
I understand the money part of it, John, but money can't buy you time. Money's not gonna buy you a snowstorm gone if this thing's not under roof. So we can put in the performance bond and we can ask for them to pay fines and do all that. It's still not gonna get blocks laid, and it's not gonna get, you understand what my point is? That money's good, that's good, but you can't buy time with cash, so.
Sure.
But hopefully it'll help them. But work faster.
Yes.
Big motivator.
Big motivator.
questions for John Hagan while we have him on the phone? Ms. Morgan, did you have something to say?
No, I just wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to ask anything they wanted to, well, he was available. Thank you, John Hagan, for calling in. And in the past, when we were working on, when we gave you approval the time for the $60,000 to use if we needed it for soil and things like that, you gave us a wonderful weekly update of what was going on. Would you send to me a weekly update of how the masonry work is going so I can forward that out to our board members?
I will start that immediately.
Awesome. I think it was a great communication tool, and we were able to be a little bit involved and know. So.
Okay, sure.
Hold on, Mr. Mike, yes.
Have you used this masonry subcontractor before?
I have not personally. They've done some work for us in the past, but this is my first experience with them personally.
Thank you.
Thank you, John Hagan. I'll follow up with you tomorrow.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
It was working perfect earlier.
Okay, before we move on to Mike's favorite part of this agenda, anything else to be discussed on Spotsville? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to adjourn this open meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mike. Who wants to second that? Ms. Tracy. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
I think that's all for now. I think,